Om Ganganapate Namaha. Today we are going to know the biography, philosophy, teachings and preachings of Sri Jagadguru Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswamigal from Kanchipura. Chandrasekhara Saraswati Swamigal is one of incarnation of Lord Shankara, like Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara, the first one, established so many mutts in South India as well as in north part of India. In South India, the Shankara Matha at Kanchipuram has its own glory. That was one of the matham established by Adi Shankara Swamigal. In this parampara, Jagadguru Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swamigal occupied the throne or Peetham of Kanchi after his reign. Then onwards, Chandrasekhara Saraswati Swamigal brought tremendous changes in all kinds of services. He believes service to human is service to God. That means Manava Sevaiva Madhava Seva. Even if we go to Kanchipura, Swamigal, Mahaswamigal established an educational institution that is on his name. He emphasized much to bring out Adi Shankara's works and stotras and each and every bhashya to the limelight. Every now and then he was preaching to his devotees about Adi Shankara's works and his philosophy so easily to reach to a common man. Later days, Swamigal went on into silence. Some time he became as a Mauna Munigal, Mauna Swami. But in his early days, he studied all Shastras and attained a kind of virtuousness and blessings from Adi Shankara as well as Lord Shiva. As long as Jagadguru Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswamigal was in the throne of Kanchimat, the Peetham of Kanchimat, it was enlightened the dharmas to each and every nook of, or each and every part, or every nook and corner of the country. He mainly worked for propagating dharma. He had a strong belief, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. In this regard, Mahaswamigal worked for many years. Mahaswami philosophy is so easily accessible and can be understood easily. These kinds of treatments we can find when he was the seer of Kanchimat. Even he emphasized much to propagate Bhagavad Gita also. Whatever the pious works done in the society, there will be first person Swami Mahaswamigal. Today we are going to know the detailed biography and philosophy of Jagadguru Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswamigal. Let us go for it. Before that, Let us start with prayer. Nava Shivabhyam Nava Yauvanabhyam Parasparaslishtava Purdarabhyam Nagendra Kanya Vrushaketanabhyam Namo Namah Shankara Parvatibhyam. Jagadguru Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswami was born 20th May 1894. He was brought up in the central part of southern state of Tamil Nadu, especially Villupuram, South Arcot district. His father was Subramanya Shastri, who was from a Kannada-speaking Smartha Brahmin family that had migrated to Tamil Nadu generations earlier. Subramanya Shastri worked as a teacher, having entered the educational services. His mother Mahalakshmi was also from a Kannada Brahmin family, from the village of Ichangudi near Tiruvayyar. Swaminathan Chandrasekhar Saraswati was the second child of his parents. Swami's Upanayanam was performed in Tindivanam in the year 1905, and it was during his upbringing that he became well versed in the Vedas and started performing pujas. In the year 1906, the 66th Acharya of Kamakoti Pita, Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati VI, was camping in Perumukkal, a small village near Dindivanam, in observance of Chaturmasya Vrata. The 66th Acharya attained Siddhi and passed at Kalavai, and Swaminathan's maternal cousin was installed as the 67th Acharya. The 67th Acharya had a fever, and due to the unexpected turn of events, Swamigal was installed as the Acharya. Thus, Swamigal ascended the Kanchikamakoti Peetam on 13th February 1907 as the 68th Acharya with the sannyasa name Jagadguru Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Mahaswamigal. As per the usual training given to the seers, he was well trained with Vedas, Puranas, various Hindu scriptures, and ancient Indian literature. The Acharya was 15 years old in the year 1909. For 2 years, he studied under the Pandits of the Mutt at Kumbakonam. From 1911 to 1914, he studied in Mahendra Mangalam, a small village on the northern bank of Akhanda Kaveri. The Acharya showed interest in subjects such as photography, mathematics, and astronomy. He returned to Kumbakonam in the year 1914. The Matta was managed by Court of Wards from 1911 to 1915 until he turned 21st in May 1915. Let us see his contributions. Mahaswami started spreading his knowledge in spiritual journey across the Indian hinterland. These included devotional practices and daily rituals such as performing various pujas and recitations of the works of God. All castes of the people became his devotees. He carried the responsibility effortlessly and made simple practice for devotees to increase devotion, like chanting and writing the holy name of Rama. Devotees soon realized he was not a normal person and labeled him as Jagadguru for his help in rectifying their issues. Swamigal dedicated his life to the deity Kamakshi Amman in the premises where he was a spiritual head Kamakshi Amman temple. The temple is where the goddess herself came personally for devotion to Shiva. Throughout his life, Mahaswami practiced the Advaita philosophy of his Guru Adi Shankaracharya, the great Hindu philosopher and reformist. Mahaswami renovated many multiple temples across India and increased the recitals of sacred texts like the Vishnu Sahasranama. Mahaswami helped Vedic priests on their pronunciation of the holy Sanskrit texts and implemented rigorous Agama Shastra teachings describing cosmology, epistemology, philosophical doctrines, precepts on meditation, and other topics. Swami made radical social changes on allowing devotees inside the temple premises. The day in India became independent, he gave a speech on the significance of the flag and the Dharma Chakra in it. He passed away without celebrating his centenary on 8th January 1994. His attainment of Videh Mukti invited devotees to go beyond numerology and believe only the name of God in the lifespan. Let us see his discourses. As the religious head of the Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam, obliged to spiritual duties, Mahaswami travelled across the country on palanquin and started giving discourses. On several occasions, he addressed the common masses on diverse aspects of Dharma, ancient culture, and a variety of subjects. He delivered the discourses on simple verandas, riverbeds, and sabhas, unlike in the 21st century. The discourses, Daivattin Kural, the voice of God, were compiled by his disciple R. Ganapati and published in English and Tamil as. It has been also translated to other Indian languages. Discourses were related to various subjects across different topics, which are well versed, are well researched, and well advised. His discourses were important for his devotees and others across India suffering from lack of devotion. He brought back the ancient practice of Sanatana Dharma, traveling throughout the country, offering guidance, founding schools, and providing for the people. Now let us see Mahaswami's preachings. The medicine of grace to wipe out our sorrows is to develop unshakable faith in God, and tolerance is the medicine of grace to wipe out permanently. Bhakti alone can give us the capacity to put up this sorrow. Temples are agencies for developing that bhakti, hence the need for temples at all places. All offerings to the deities in the temples are tokens of our gratitude to God. That which is within all, which is seen as this is the source who is within and sees as this is God. It is a reality, it is in yourself. What is limited is sadhana, what is unlimited is the end. He alone is an acharya who, after clearly understanding the conclusive teachings of the Shastras, make the people of the world again to gain their welfare by making them stick to the path shown in the Shastras, and also himself does everything according to Shastras and remains in that experience. Many acts relating to God, like building temples, digging tanks, are performed. While executing them, there would be many difficulties. There would come also several kinds of dishonor. Not minding any of these, they would complete their task with mental one-pointedness, removing impurities from their minds and telling them mind wander. By strengthening their mind, they acquire mind control, and at the end, they realize the reality that is to be known. Digging tanks, building temples, such as other acts are called purtam. The performed of sacrifices, etc., are known as Ishtam. Combining these two, we have the word Ishtapurtam. In all that you do, let love be the sole motive. Any need must be with reference to another. Let action be out of love. Passions such as desire and hatred, anger and malice must be totally eschewed. If love becomes the grounding principles of all deeds, the most of ills of the world will disappear or vanish. Parameshwara and Srimanarayana are one and same in reality, they are not two. This is a conclusive view of all the Shastras. Names differ, forms are different, occupations vary, but the reality which is within them is one and the same. Much is said about the personal God and the impersonal absolute God with attributes. It is only when all the colors in the light mix together that we get the colorless rays of the sun. Similarly, by the virtue of being the abode of attributes, God becomes nirguna, attributeless. Right education should make us know that God is the truth. Knowledge must fill one with good qualities, through which one can realize the truth, that is God. Therefore, the goal of knowledge is the understanding of the ultimate truth. The first fruit of the education must be humility and self control. The total surrender to the Lord is a means of learning our insignificance and transcendent grace of the Lord. If we engage an inquiry into the Atman, at the end of it, it will be clear that God is in us as our very self. When that stage is reached, we have no use for the Devas. Then all karmas will fall away from us. But until then, we must obligatorily do the karmas, directing them to the gods. Of all scriptures, the Gita has acquired a speciality of its own. Like this, there are many other books of wisdom. In the Mahabharata, there are many chapters for teaching wisdom, because in the Shiva Purana, Vishnu Purana, Skanda Purana, etc., there is Jnanopadesha. So also in Agamas. But what is the special importance of Gita due to? Not only in our country, but in the countries like Java, people follow the Gita. My inference is that because it was born in an atmosphere utterly free from attachment and detachment in life. Attachment to body, attachment to kith and kin, but out of attachment only to reality, it has become famous. On deep consideration, ahimsa appears to good as an ideal for preaching, but practically speaking, it is difficult to follow fully. First of all, we must love others, but if we love anyone too much, threaten is sorrow. Therefore, we should love God, who always gives happiness and not sorrow. I ask myself, if we love God, should we do not love anyone else in this world? So long as there is a false knowledge which is distributing God from the rest of the world, there will be differences. If we attain jnana, that God is all, we will develop the same love for all that we have for God. This is a sign of ahimsa. For the sake of food, clothing and shelter, everyone in toiling the sorrow stricken. In sorrow is to be banished, and if we are to be very happy, we must dedicate all our actions to God. If we forget His grace, then we need not do anything and can be happy. God is a good master. By praising Him always, we cannot please Him. He is indifferent to our praise or dispraise, action and inaction, but all our actions are ordained by Him and are meant only to purify our minds. Why so many gods? Is it not enough to have only one? Other religions speak of one God only and not many. We are assailed by such doubts. We eat and satisfy hunger. The stomach becomes full. There is no trouble or hunger. The way can't we take cooked rice alone? Why should we eat so many side dishes? So if we eat it is just to not to fill the stomach, but we want food tasty to the plate and pleasing to the eyes. Whoever is attracted to a particular god, he worshipped that. Vedanta, which is the peak of the Vedas, teaches the way for the removal of sorrow. Hatred and desire arise only in respect of the objects other than us. That desire will not arise if those objects are rendered identical or anything else. If there is nothing other than us, then desire will not arise. If there is no desire, there will be no effort and no sin. When there is no sin, there will be nobody and there will be no misery. We may get many types of sorrow. What seems to be sorrow to all people of place may not seem sorrowful today. If we stay always happy without wanting to attain anything unattached by sorrow, like the lotus leaf and kalakodi seed, that is called yoga. Know that to be indicated as yoga, which is separation from being addicted with sorrow. The removal of association with sorrow. Now, another philosophy is in order to reach one purpose, why should the Veda speak of many matters? This question may arise in our mind. It is through many matters that it is possible to understand that one purpose, which is reality, yoga, meditation, austerity, sacrifice, performance of karma. When these are accomplished, what they indicate is that one reality, it is reality which is true purport of the Veda, other things are not of a changing nature. They become woven into a story and then even to the story can disappear. What for is the science of medicine? It is for keeping the body strong and healthy. What is the body is not strong and healthy? The body will be subject to disease. And the question, what is if there is a disease? One will not be able to follow function properly. He who has given this body is the same and self. This is the true. We should practice several disciplines. We can practice them only if the body is well. In order to keep it well, we must prevent it from becoming a prey to disease. The science is medicine to all. Thus, Ayurveda helps in the realization of Advaita experience. Savikalpa Samadhi. The mind is steady without any distraction, contemplating its object, wholly absorbed therein. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. This is the goal of yoga in this mind ceases to function the vanishes once and for all leaving the self to shine forth alone. In Advaita too, the path of meditation is recognized, but here the object of meditation is the distinctionless Brahman, Sahaja Samadhi. This is realized through the path of inquiry. It is a normal state of self-realization and one of utter unconcern for the feeling phenomena. There is nothing to feel elated about seeing the people worshipping me. But when I reflect that he is worshipped with a God, who they took think over approachable through me, and I feel glad to undertake the efforts. In this way, Swamigal worked for. Our religion, Hinduism, has grown by devotion, meditation, and self-purification. The other religious might have grown by propaganda and conflict. The reason for growth of fold of Hinduism in spite of powerful propaganda of other religions was lure for money, etc., is we see a great moon in our midst by whom we are impressed. We develop devotion to him and generate forth in the political religion. This is a text in the Veda which says that is flowering tree attracts bees automatically. If we examine ourselves and we find one of use to be perfect, the world will follow him. A child eats earth. Its hands are tied by the mother. The child gets angry and cries. Is it without reason the mother ties his hands? We do not know the mercy of universal mother. The good mother or harmony coming to us has its sources in his grace. Suffering her grace for some reason. We must create whatever comes to us, good or bad, as her grace. We do not know why she gives it. Our vision is limited. We do not look what precedes it or follows it. If we are able to look into the past, present, and also present future, we cannot say that a child or an idiot who keeps quiet without activity, like who is root cause for everything. We cannot presume that he has attained Jivan Mukti. That is why all the Shastras compiled this history. He has to become like a withered tree, an immovable object with a steady mind. He must understand all that's happening around him. His knowledge should be perfect. He should not be affected by passion of sorrow. He should always be happy. None of us is like that, and Ishvara is described as Sachidananda. If God is the ocean of mercy and if He knows everything, He must know what we want. Why should we appeal to Him by this or that? The reasonable answer is that instead of being useless places, we plead before the highest and omniscient. Otherwise, we have no justification to ask Him to give us this or not. A master has two servants. One always flatters the master, the other could just performs his duties without any love for the master. If the mister is a fool, or if his servant is a love and flattering servant, if the master understood two clowns, you really have courage and planning. Thinking that God is far away from you. You are wandering in search of Him. So long as you do not know He is far away, though you may wander, you cannot see Him, but He is nearby you. He is distant yet near. The story of a girl wanting to marry the highest among men, a king, ended after all the travels in the discovery of an ordinary man her parents had already selected. The bridegroom was so near. She took a long route to arrive at a point so near her life. In this way, we can find so many things. Joy comes in the form of status, money, etc. Without any effort. We feel isolated, but it is the smallest fragment of the great joy from within, which is called Ananda. Paramatman, the Ananda within, is not worshipped whether any joy comes from outside and mixes with it or not. Water entered into the sea, which though ever being full, is ever motionless. Our minds should automatically seek and cling to God, just as iron fillings are attracted by the magnet. The heart of the chaste wife seeks her husband, the creeper embraces her tree, the rivers go to the sea. Philosophical truths and ordinary people have nothing much in common. Therefore, outward grab is useless. The representatives of religion must have real worth, peace, loving nature. I mean, shantam, austerity, tapaha, and unselfish nature. Hinduism, in spite of vicissitudes, is surviving even to this day. This is due to the blessings of a succession of saints. If there is one saint among us, the world will prosper. Upasana is dhyana or concentration. Reality is always the same and changeless. God, as ultimate reality, is formless, but upasana of a form differs. The scriptures tell you how to meditate and on what all forms and with what results. For upasana, you have to follow the sastras or scriptures. The different upasanas are all aids in the path to the ultimate goal, namely understanding reality. Whenever any honor is done to a person, the recipient must remember the divine source from which he derived the qualification to receive that honor and feel humble and not elated with the feeling of self importance. Thus, Mahaswami philosophy is explained to understand the Advaita system thoroughly. Shri Kantai Kalyana Nide Nide Dhanam Shri Venkatnivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam Mangala Chasna Premadacharya Purvakmai Sarvesha Purvairacharya Satkrutajastha Mangalam.